to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning ka Vibal. And now, to proceed with our session this morning, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker. He is a former vice principal for academic affairs, a teacher, and head of a department at an international school in Singapore. He worked for 10 years here in the Philippines in a Catholic school, holding various administrative and supervisory positions. In fact, he is a former CCCCF head at St. Joseph Pandacan. He is a licensed professional teacher and holds a master's degree in pastoral ministry, Master of Arts in Religious Education, and certificates in teaching child psychology. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker, Mr. Joseph Artambio, MALPT.
Okay, good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. And I am honored actually to be always part of Vival's advocacy in making sure that everything with regard to educating our young people is okay. Okay, so my topic for today actually is nothing new to most teachers, if not all. It's all about character formation and how we are going to integrate values across curriculum. My background in the Philippines, I've been Christian living education teachers for 10 years in a Catholic school. And my field of specialization would be on pastoral ministry, as mentioned by our moderator, Kia. And so I will not be dealing so much with the technical aspect of integration, but as I always believe, it is more practical to focus on the essential things on this topic. Okay? It's a light discussion, but at the same time, I hope I will be able to inspire people to keep focus on this as the core of every lesson, regardless of the discipline that you are teaching. By that I mean, if you're teaching English, science, and mathematics, and other uh, subjects, it doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is that the core of your discussion would be values and character formation. There had been a lot of talks about uh, how to come up with curriculum, how to redesign programs and everything, but nothing much is given to the human person. Okay? Yung pong mismong bata, yung mismong mag-aaral sa loob ng silid kung saan nagaganap yung pagkatuto at paghuhubog. No? So yun po yung gusto kong bigyan pansin. Okay, so as I always do, I've consulted some references and sources, which I am quoting here. Okay, so yeah, I got this from M. Kemal Atatürk, and it says, teachers, we set up the republic, but we are the one who will cause it to rise and make it lead. Republic wants us to cultivate generations which have free mind, free conscience, and free knowledge and high character. The last word is the most important part of this quotation: character. Okay, especially now in our current situation, nothing is new anymore. Madami nang nasanay sa sitwasyon natin, but it changed a lot of characters in one way or another. May mga naging mas mabait, may mga hindi naging masyadong produktibo, and it's always a focus of joke, no? After this, what will we become? So I am trying to connect the talk sa Republic Act 11476, which is surprisingly a law about GMRC and values education. Talagang kailangan pa po ng batas para ipatupad itong GMRC. Na dati naman ay talagang naalala ko yan nung magsimula akong mag-aral sa primary school. Topic na yung GMRC na yan. And in fact, when I taught in international here in Singapore, I really advocated focusing on GMRC. And it made sense a lot, actually. Okay. Sige po, pwede pong mag-comment kayo kung alam niyo itong kantang ito. Sino pong nakakaalam ng kantang ito? Nanay, tatay, gusto kong tinapay. Ate, kuya, gusto kong kape. Lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin niyo. Ang magkamali ay pipingutin ko. Sir, sabi mo kanta. Bakit mo tinula? Pasensya na po, hindi ako binayaan ng gift of voice. So, can you just make a comment on this, the first stanza of this? This is a famous song. Sa kalye, kinakanta to ng mga bata with the hand gesture. Okay? Nanay, tatay, gusto kong tinapay. Ate, kuya, gusto kong kape. Lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin nyo. Ang magkamali ay pipingutin ko. Okay, so sino pong, can you share your insights on this famous lalong kalye ito no? Pansinin po ninyong mabuti. Okay? Ito speaks of nanay and tatay. May ate siya at may kuya. Ano po ang gusto ng bata? Okay, so may mga nagko-comment, kape. Okay? The third line, I want to call your attention. Okay? Sabi ng bata, lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin niyo. Okay. Dapat po ba tayo mabahala doon sa salitang niyon, doon sa pangungusap ng bata? Lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin ninyo. Okay, can you please make your comment? Is it a good line of a child? Mabuti po ba yon? Imaginein po ninyo kung kayo ay magulang at lalapit sa inyo yung batang anak at sasabihin, nanay, tatay, gusto kong tinapay. Ate, kuya, gusto kong kape. And here comes. Lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin ninyo. Wow. And it didn't stop there. Look at the last line. Ang magkamali ay pipingutin ko. Wow. So teachers, corporal punishment po yan. Okay? So what can you share? Our topic is about character formation, and I would like to start my discussion in this very simple, long tradition na kanta ng mga bata. Okay? Ang sabi niya, lahat ng gusto ko. Okay. So, ito po gusto ko lang stir up your mind to be critical about how we form characters. Alam po ninyo, in psychology, I think this would have a meaningful impact on a child who did sing this for several times. No? Lahat ng gusto ko ay susundin ninyo. Without exception, it's a sweeping statement na lahat ng gusto niya ay dapat masunod. At pag nagkamali, may kaakibat na parusa. Pipingutin. Ako po, ang sakit po pag kayo'y napingot. Okay? So, this is a classic example of how we can integrate values and character formation. Now, I'm not saying na yung kanta, whoever composed this, ay may masamang balak. But, you know, sometimes we are unaware of the things that are happening that we have to be very careful. Okay? Now, dahil po yung bata namimingot at lahat ng gusto niya masunod, Cons this Republic Act. Kaka-sign lang ito, I think, 25 of June. Okay, Republic Act 11476. It used to be a bill, now it's a law. Ang tawag po dito ay GMRC and Values Education Act. Okay, so batas na po na kailangan may good man, may turo. It's not a law that you should be good, but it's a law now that GMRC and Values Education to be taught as part of the K-12 curriculum. Okay, and it's readily available online. You can just search on it and find the provision. Okay. Martin Luther King said, intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. It's not just academic, it's not just the cognitive development of an individual, but it has to have character. It didn't say character formation, but it goes without saying that the character also must be molded and transformed into the positive character. Otherwise, it says education will not really be in its truest sense. No? Okay. Albert Einstein said, try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. Okay? Pagpapahalaga. Maganda po yung translation nito sa Filipino. Ano? Isang tao na may pagpapahalaga. Okay? Hindi lang matagumpay kasi madaming titulo na na-achieve, madaming mga degree na nakamit, but at the end, wala namang pagpapahalaga. Then I think it doesn't make sense. It will not make sense actually. So I am laying down the foundation of what character formation is. An education without values, as useful as it is, seems rather to make man a more clever devil. This is a very strong statement by C.S. Lewis. It's simply accumulation of knowledge. Take note, in education, we've learned this as teachers. The tripartite connection of the mind, the heart, and the hands. Okay, I used to make an illustration to my students that a child that is full of knowledge without emotion, without heart, and without developing physically, malaking ulo, tas napakaliit ng katawan. In the same way, otherwise, kung yung puso lang naman, katawan lang, at wala ding pag-unlad sa kaisipan, eh hindi din healthy. So it has to come together. They are complementing each other. So makita po ninyo ngayon, mga teachers who are watching now, na how important integration of values in our lessons. Why? Because nowadays, later on in some of my presentations, I will share with you how important and actually integral it is. No? Well, at this point, I would like to make a disclaimer that I am not perfect. No? May mga pagkukulang din po ako. And my values and my character, I am continuously improving on it. Okay? In the same way as teachers, maintindihan natin later on how important it is that we ourselves also develop our character. Because it will play a very important role in values integration with whatever subject we are teaching the kids. Whether you're a mathematics teacher, it doesn't mean you'll just be dealing only with numbers. Or if you are an English teacher, it will only concern you grammar and punctuations and all the rules of subjects and verb agreement. No, not at all. Ang sinasabi natin, to whatever discipline you are into, you need to integrate values to make education really authentic. Okay, the Republic Act started probably years ago, only enacted this year, it gives emphasis on the role of youth in nation building. Wala naman pong bago dito eh. Panahon pa lang ng ating pambansang bayani, si Jose Rizal, sinabi niya na ito na ang kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan. Eh, dapat nga ngayon sila na yung inaasahan talaga. Sila yung tinitingnan ng Estado na magtataguyod ng ating sambayanan, the nation building. Now, let's ask ourselves, you can make your comment. Are we really seeing young people who are capable of building a nation? Are we really seeing the youth of today, that to them we will entrust whatever is left undone? See, so the Republic Act is giving emphasis on the role of the youth in nation building. Now, with this comes our role as teachers to make sure, that these young people are equipped with values, simply with GMRC. Only 4 letters, GMRC, but malaking bagay po iyon. Good manners and right conduct. And values education. Yun po yung panawagan sa ating mga teachers. Well, saludo po ako sa lahat ng mga teachers who are very good. You have your own specialization, no? In terms of technical, mas magaling pa kayo sa tingin ko kaysa sa akin. But our calling now during this time is, are we forming the characters of these young people? Okay, basic concepts of values education. As used in the area of school education, it refers to the study of development of essential values in pupils and the practices suggested for the promotion of the same. So bawat school may kanya-kanyang character. In public schools, yung elementary ko po, ako ay produkto ng pampublikong paaralan at malaki po ang aking utang na loob dahil yung formative years ko, I was in a public school and all my teachers, I can still recall their names, taught me good manners and right conduct. Pati yung simpleng paglalagay ng placemat during recess, I learned it from my grade 1 teacher. So it's the development of essential values. Okay, balikan po natin yung kanta, Nanay, Tatay, Gusto Kong Tinapay. Lahat ng gusto ko. Okay? Can we see values there? Okay, it's up to you. You can make your comment po. In its full range of meaning, values education includes developing the appropriate sensibilities. Saan po sila dapat maging aware? First is the moral. Second is cultural, spiritual. Okay, tatlo po yung binanggit. Moral, cultural, and spiritual. Okay, and the ability to make proper judgment and internalize them in one's life. Moral, kasi po ngayong panahon na ito, when we speak of morality, ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito is goodness. Kabutihan. Now, goodness is a universal value. Okay? Dapat po sana isa lang ang kahulugan natin ng what is good. Ang nakakalungkot po ngayong panahon, goodness and good is becoming relative. Ibig sabihin, yung good sa akin, sa iba, hindi na siya good. At yung good naman sa iba may not be good to me. Nakakatakot yung ganon. No? May isa kong klase, sabi niya, Sir, alam mo, sa tingin ko, mabuti na pagka may kaaway po kayo, marunong kayong gumante. And then I said, be careful. No? Sabi ko sa kanya, paano ngayon, halimbawa, kung sa tingin ko, you're not behaving well, at dahil lang nainis ako, sinakta kita. At sa tingin ko, yun ang mabuting gawin. And then, medyo natakot, nag-alala. Goodness and morality, we speak of only one standard. Sana wag nating baguhin yung mga talaga namang mabuti. at gawin nating mabuti yung hindi naman talaga dahil lang sa ating sariling kagustuhan. Okay? Even cultural values must be respected at this point. Okay? And spirituality and religion as well. Why? So that we lead these young people who are expected to be nation builders. Okay? We will lead them to a reflection na kung sila ang magtataguyod ng bansa, nasa mabuting kamay tayo. Why? Because we instill in them values. Okay. Students must be able to grasp underlying principles together with the ability to act on those principles and the settled disposition to do so. Balikan po natin yung kanta ulit. Kung if you want to integrate, let's say you can use this in Filipino, pag-aralan ang mga literatura, ito pwedeng gamitin tula o isang awit. If you integrate this in your lesson, at the same time, you analyze, tama ba yung gusto ng bata? Tama ba sa isang bata na hingin ang lahat ng kanyang gusto? At sa bawat pagkakamali ay may kaakibat na pananakit. Okay, so we lead them to that reflection. I think it's a very good and a strong statement. Okay? Okay. Sabi ng Republic Act that the GMRC is simply universally accepted. I spelled it in all capital letters. Basic social values and etiquette. Basic. Ang nakakalungkot, ito ay medyo questionable ngayon. We are not saying this basic anymore. Okay? It depends on the situation that we are into, but this is universally accepted basic social values. Not when the door is closed, when two older people are talking, you cannot just pass by. You have to say, excuse me. When you're coughing or sneezing, you have to cover your mouth. These are basic. But oftentimes, dahil na-focus tayo sa ibang bagay, nakaligtaan ito at hindi na nabibigyan ng diin. So in integrating these values across curriculum, in all subjects, when I say curriculum, I've been defining curriculum as the total learning experience of every individual. So in a school setting, the whole school is a place for curricular and co-curricular activities. And therefore, all of this must be infused with values. Take every opportunity to discuss values education. And then it focuses on how we can convey simply, isa lang ang binanggit niya, respect. I like that. Okay? Respect to those whom one interacts with. Lalo na ngayon, you can highlight in your lesson with the current situation of this pandemic. We have to be sensitive, respectful of all the measures that the government and whatever implementing body is trying to enforce. It is for our own good anyway. Okay, when we speak of values education, I ask you fellow teachers and educators, parents as well, which values come to your mind when we say values education? Can you comment in the comment box? Ano pong mga values ang pumapasok sa isip ninyo? Kindness, ito po yung mga best in. Best in, most neat, most clean. Medyo simple lang po yung recognition na yon, pero malaking impact nun sa bata. And that is one way of integrating values. Don't wait for recognition day to acknowledge a child who did well in showing obedience. Don't wait for that recognition day to acknowledge a child who exemplified the value of being helpful. So what comes to your mind? Ano po yung naiisip ninyo pagka nadinig ninyo yung salitang values education? At malaking hamon sa atin. Okay? Okay. We have here this commercial. Uh, can we try to play this? Okay, let's see. Uh, it's a classic commercial. I don't know exactly which year this came out, but pagpapakita ito, no? Just to stir up your mind again, fellow educators. We can use some ads to introduce a certain topic on values education. Ito, nakita natin, ilan bang laman ng isang, this is not something I would like to advertise tong biscuit na ito. No? So, ilan bang laman ng isang packet ng biscuit na ito? Siguro, tatlo or let's say tatlo. Okay? At naiiwan na lang yung isang piraso. Sino kaya kumain ng dalawa? Tapos may isang matanda na katabi niya at humingi ng, hindi naman actually humingi, pero saw this old lady, si Lola, at seemingly parang gustong humingi. So the guy actually was kind enough to, share. Nothing bad with that actually. So nung nagbago ng anyo, diwata pala, and binigyan ng kalahati. So it's a reflection, or what we saw is what we did. Ako, on my personal note, I think he could have just given the whole biscuit to the Lola. Okay? And not expecting, it's not that we realize na kung kalahati ay kalahating kotse lang din ang matatanggap. At kung isang buo, hindi din naman natin alam kung matutupad din yung kanyang kahilingan. So we give without expecting anything in return. I think that's the basic concept that this commercial is trying to teach. So if we want to integrate values, later on, this is one of the approach that we can use to be effective in integrating values. Okay, Republic Act 11476 also mentions human dignity. Wow, this is a very strong statement coming from the government, trying to give emphasis on human dignity. Okay, usually we just hear this from churches' teachings, but now even the government is giving emphasis on human dignity. No, yung kahalagahan ng buhay. See, itong after being criticized for so many issues on human rights, the government now tries to come up with a very sensible law which begins to discuss human dignity. It refers to the unique and inherent value or worth of human persons. So at this point, yung estudyante, hindi lang natin tinatawag na student or learners. We call them human person. Wow, it's a very deep appreciation of this person inside the classroom. Hindi mo lang siya makikita. When you check attendance, you're not just checking attendance of your students. You are checking the attendance of every person. Okay? And this person has intrinsic, innate, inviolable, inalienable, and universal dignity. Hindi po pwedeng alisin sa kanya yon. Alam niyo, ito yung pinakamahalagang dahilan kung bakit dapat pahalagahan ang pagbuo ng karakter ng isang estudyante. Because when the child enters the classroom, it's a make or break moment. It's either we build up the character through our lessons. Let's say you're discussing mathematics and you just focus purely on discussing those numbers. Uh, Teacher, how can we integrate values? Well, in your example, simply, kahit po simple lang, bite-size discussion on values formation would be enough when you put them all together at the end of the curricular year. You help the child to build up his character. Nandun na po yun eh. Hindi po, it's not the teacher who's putting this human dignity. It's not the teacher who is actually giving character. We are just helping them. How? Later, I'll share with you some approaches. Okay. Uh, Now we would like to have a values-based education, if I may say so. And I find some literature connected to this. Okay. So, tingnan po natin mabuti. All the teachers who are watching, no? Let me just check some of the comments. Okay, good. Walang bago po dito. We must find comfort that the home, yung bahay, ay ang pinakamagandang lugar kung saan mahuhubog ang pagkatao ng isang bata, yung kanyang kabutihang asal, yung kanyang pagiging disiplinado. I saw one comment, no? As young as grade 1 or even before reaching that age, dapat ay na-mold na sila. So the role of the teacher actually is just reinforcing the values that had been formed already even before they entered the classroom or the school. So it's very normal. It's very common actually. And the challenge is that as teachers, we must first, let me say this, we must first believe that values is the core of our lesson. Okay? Notwithstanding the importance of the main subject that we are teaching. If we are teaching science, it's still very important to teach them the concepts of science. Yes. If you are teaching physics or chemistry or whatever subject it may be, it remains to be your focus. But focus doesn't mean you will not see other visions. Okay? You focus on your subject, but it must be in a way scaffolded by values formation. Why? Because it says values are essential building blocks on which an education for humanistic and international society must be built on. So the Republic calls for the youth to be the nation builder, but we help them with the correct mindset and values. Okay? Or the one of the teacher's comment, agree, values is the core. Because if not, then we will just be industrialized, we will just be modernized. And as one of the quotes that I shared with you, students will just be more clever they will. We don't want that to happen. It doesn't sound good, and it is not good. Okay. Values-based education promotes a secure physical, emotional, and political society. Why? If the society were in the people there were educated properly, then hindi po tayo mag-aalala. You will agree with me, teachers, that the students inside the classroom will always behave well when you are inside, correct? Wow, some of the teachers will just stand near the door at tahimik na lahat ng bata. But pag talikod, it's another story. But if we really, why? Because they are acting based on not values, probably fear, Probably compliance. So it has to be coming from within. They are behaving not because the teacher told them to do so. They are well behaved not because they are complying with the rules of the school. No, they are behaving because that is their nature. Yun po yung dapat nating i-integrate sa kanila. Okay, I have, I think, 8 or 7 approaches that I would like to share with you. How to teach values in whatever subjects we are assigned to. Number 1 is telling. Ito po yung pinakamadali. Okay, a process of developing values that enables a pupil to have a clear picture of a value-laden situation by means of his own narration of situation. So ito po yung teacher. Hindi siya nagkikwento, nagsasabi siya. Kasi balikan natin yung kanta na nanay tatay. Kung ako yung magsasabi nun, directly, I will just tell my students, okay? Because that song may pwedeng gamitin sa mathematics. Kasi may part doon sa song na magbibilang ang bata. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. So it's counting also can be used. So sasabihin ko directly sa mga bata. They have a clear picture value-laden situation. So yung sitwasyon na yun, isang bata na humihingi ng lahat ng gusto niya sa magulang. Okay? So I will tell my students na no, you cannot always ask for, you cannot simply ask for what do you want. It's not good. Okay? Let's push it forward. Sasabihin din natin na hindi din tama na pag may taong nagkamali ay bibigyan tayo ng karapatang manakit. Wow. So you already told them 2 important values. Just simply by integrating it into your lesson. Counting. Okay? So, madali lang ito kasi magkikwento lang, magsasabi lang naman yung teacher. So, we are being encouraged to do this as one of the approaches for teaching values. Second, inculcating. Okay? Alam po ninyo, also in the Republic Act 11476, ang sinasabi doon, walang special requirements who can teach values education. Ang sabi lang noon, there is a special preference for those who have diploma or graduate and special training. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na pag wala ka nun, hindi ka makapagturo ng values education. Okay? Kasi simple lang It starts with human dignity. Lahat naman, man by nature is good. Okay? Maniwala po tayo doon. Walang taong ipinanganak na masama. Man by nature is good. And so therefore, if we have that gift, we can easily share. Kaya natin yung i-share. At kaya natin yung gamitin bilang bahagi ng ating pagtuturo. If you are discussing arts, okay, you can integrate values by telling them that a canvas is like a society. Everyone plays a role in putting colors on it. Okay? How? This second approach, inculcating, is geared towards instilling and internalizing norms into person's own value system. Now, yung una is telling. We just tell them. Inculcating is now we would like to pass on to them what is naturally good, what is good value. Okay, so we would like to instill in them now that, let's go back to that song. Okay? Siyang magkamali ay pipingutin ko. So we inculcate in them the value of justice. Okay? Justice is not the same as uh, whatever happens to you, kung ikaw ay nasaktan, justice is dapat masaktan din yung nanakit sa'yo. That is not just. Okay? Equality is not justice. Okay? Equality is not justice. Justice is when you are given the same opportunity to get something or receive something. So kung may nagkamali, anong dapat gawin? This is a time for us to tell them, to let them internalize. Kapag may nanakit sa akin, yes, it's human nature, masasaktan ka, but I also have to be aware that that person who hurt me is just like me. Okay? So the key words in this second approach is instilling and internalizing. Okay? Third approach, ito medyo challenging. Nakita po ninyo yung mukha ng bata, no? Parang hindi pa uhuli ng buhay. Okay. The process of convincing the learner to accept certain values and behave in accordance with what is acceptable. Gone are the days of this kind of strategy of teachers, no? Yung papasulating ka, I will not be late again. This one, I must not be naughty in class. I must not be naughty in class. Okay? So how can you persuade a child who is like this? Ginagawa, pero nagngingit-ngit. So it always takes a lot of patience for us teachers. Tama po ba yung mga teachers, no? Lalo po ngayon in the different situation, how can we do this if we are virtually present? Hindi madali. I remember in one of the Zoom classes that I had, no, biglang nag-message yung parent and said, teacher, naka-minimize na po kayo. So, yeah, so I needed to talk to the child. Slowly. Minsan po nakakagigil, ano? Siguro sa lahat ng teachers who are watching now and parents as well, naranasan na natin yan na talagang sinabi mo ng lahat, still didn't make sense. Seemingly, don't lose hope. Baka hindi lang na-process niyan. And later on, just let them know how they must behave and what is acceptable or not. This is leading towards a more positive approach. Okay, modeling. Again, this one is I think a very easy strategy. A certain individual perceived as epitomizing desirable or ideal values is presented to the learners as model. That's why we must be very careful, as we have been reminded repeatedly in the past and even presently, yung mga napapanood nila is very crucial for them. It's either the next thing you know is they are trying to copy whatever they are saying. YouTube, sa mga noontime shows, okay? Huwag kayong magugulat. And so who's the best model? Principle of education tells us that the best visual aid is, who is the best visual aid? The teacher. We model. Okay? I have a friend who asked me, Joshua, can you help me? Yung anak ko minsan palaging inaawa yung bunsong kapatid, pinagagalitan. And I tried to ask and inquire. Sabi niya, baka kayong mag-asawa, nakikita sa inyo na nagagalit. Oh, no, we are practicing positive discipline. When did the child learn? From the teacher. From the teacher. The child was acting like he was a teacher. Even holding a stick. Very sad. But if we see it in the other way, kung medyo positive naman, I will never forget one of my students here in Singapore. The parents messaged me, actually thanking me, but at the same time surprised. Kumakain sila, they were eating in a hawker center, yung parang restaurant. No? And then the mother uh, brought out her mobile phone to take photo of the food. But the child said, who was my student, said, Teacher Josh said we should rather pray than take photos. Now the mother, well, she admitted medyo natigilan siya doon. But you see, because how, I'm not saying that I was an effective teacher, but they learned, we model. Because during our recess time, I said we always pray and we should not take photo of the food. We respect the food. And since then, it's become part. See, even recess time, which is not academic time, it can be considered co-curricular, can be used to integrate values. Okay. It says character formation cannot be taught. It comes from experience and not from explanation. That's why those approaches may not be enough. Okay, Maria Montessori said it comes from experience. So the most experienced teacher we are, the more values we can actually teach them. Okay. Number 5, role playing, acting out true feelings of the actors by taking the role of another person but without the risk of reprisals. So this one is very easy. If you're teaching drama, so role playing is very effective. Even in Araling Panlipunan, dito madalas you can do a lot of role playing. Now in the current situation, current events can lead to understanding and actually appreciation of values formation. Okay, I'll go back to the song. Nanay, tatay. I'll go to the second stanza. You might be surprised. Mahaba itong kantang ito. No? Ayaw niyang pumasok, wala siya sa eskwela nang matutunang magbilang na ng barya. 3, 2, 1. Kayo po'y maawa na. Bilhin niyo na itong nilalako kong sampagita. Okay, this one calls for a critical thinking. Tells us, yung bata, anong ginagawa? This one can be a topic for values very much. It speaks about social justice, child labor. Yung bata hindi na pumapasok. Why? Kasi anong kanyang trabaho? Nagtitinda ng sampagita. And the situation is not good. Why? It says, kayo po'y maawa na. So baka walang benta. And so this song can be used as a springboard for you to introduce the topic on the virtue of justice. Okay? And human dignity as well. Comment po kayo if you have anything to say about this stanza of the song. Okay. Simulating, a strategy in which the learners are asked to pretend to be in a certain situation called for by the lessons, and then portray the events, and also by imitating the character's personality. So with your examples of particular topic, you can use this one. Of course, problem solving, problematic approach. An approach wherein a dilemma is presented to the learners, asking them what decisions they are going to take. Okay, let's see. This one is a very common scenario. Palagi ito. In a sinking ship, you had to save from your wife and mother. Who would you save first? Sige nga po, can you make that comment? Do we still have time? Yes. Can you make, who would you save first? Sino pong ililigtas, yung asawa o yung nanay? Who should come first, your mother or your wife? Again, Maria Montessori said we cannot just explain. It must come from our experience. Sige po, alam nyo, maybe 9 out of 10 Filipinos will say ang dapat iligtas ay ang, let's see if there's some who's trying to make comments. Sino po ang ililigtas dito? Nanay o ang asawa? Okay, let's give some time to ask. Who would you say first? Nanay o asawa? But teacher, depende kung galit ako sa asawa. Okay? But let's focus. Let's focus because we are integrating values. Because we're integrating values. Okay? Oh, siguro po nahihiya kayong sumagot, ano? Pero as per experience, lahat ng sinasabi ang ililigtas ay nanay. No, Filipinos are like that. Sasabihin kasi po ang nanay nag-iisa lang. Pwede kang magkaroon ng iba pang asawa pero ang nanay isa lang. Right? Agree with me? Yan ang madalas kong madinig kahit nung mas bata pa ako. Well, I'm coming from the perspective of someone who at least studied, in my experience as Christian Living Education teacher. It says, my mother, not my husband. I prefer to save my mother because she's the one who built me. See, sabi sa inyo lahat. Kahit si Miss Cecil Bidon, yung isa kong friend, mother. You only have one mother and I was thinking of my wife can swim. Parents are the ones. Wow, take note. But I will bring your attention to your marital vows. To your marital vows. You are committed. You made that vow. During your marriage, your wedding, your commitment, your vow is to your wife. Medyo masakit, no? Pero ako ang dapat piliin ay yung asawa. No? Yung nanay, sabi ng isa kong estudyante, sir, ba't naman kasi sinama pa yung nanay? No? But I mean, hindi po malaking, sa tingin ko, walang pagkakasala kung pipiliin yung asawa. At yung nanay, kung talagang mabuti, ay may intindihan. At kung kayo po ang nanay, sa tingin ko, kayo din ang magsasabi na iligtas yung kanyang asawa. So itong mga pagkakataong ito, medyo komplikado but it can stir up, make our students think. Okay? So I leave it to you, but as far as I can recall from one of the lessons that I learned from my studies is it should be the wife. Kasi you are committed. Remember your wedding ring. Till death do you part. Okay? Well, in conclusion, we can say that values education helps students find their place in the world and build their self-confidence. The big idea here is confidence. No? Lalo yung bata na hindi masyadong magaling sa numbers or still trying his best doing grammar. If you instill in them and show them that it's important but not the most important. We would rather have a child who is behaving very well, struggling and having some challenges in the academics. Mas mabuti, sa akin mas mabuti yon kasi madali namang mabigyan ng intervention. But to form and mold a character, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Values in a school curriculum add a dimension to that. Promote holistic development of the students, and later on benefits their academic achievement. So it can be translated. It is not actually separate. Okay, so I think we have some questions. But how about in secondary math? How can we integrate value integration in some complicated topics? It's so frustrating in the part of the teacher. My answer is, if you need to at some point stop, so be it. Okay? Hindi din pwedeng ipilit. It must come seamless. Okay? Halimbawa, yung topic mo talaga, secondary math, no? Algebra, ipipilit mo na magawa ka ng situation. No, what I'm saying is, every classroom, every lesson is a moment for us to integrate values. Spend 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, your subject is not the only lesson that the student must learn. So Teacher Dom Reyes. No? So do not be frustrated. If you focus so much on the lesson, then really you will not find means to integrate the subject. So it's not just integrating, but at the same time, values education. That is what Republic Act is telling us. So Ernesto says, how will we integrate the values education to our classes? We will put it in our lesson plan. I think you may do that in your lesson plan. You can put this in your introduction. Okay? I don't think any principal will disagree with me if I say this must be allowed. Okay? You will not be teaching anything against uh, DepEd standards. This is a law, in fact. Okay? And it's not limited to the values education or ESP lesson per se. Not at all. Okay, from another question, napansin ko po yung bata po, lalo na ages 3 to 5, nakapagmura sila, natuwa pa ang magulang o okay, again, we call their attention to tell them, di ba, telling one of the approaches, tell them that is not good. That is not good. We have to make action. How do teacher discipline a bully learners? Again, bully, let us not use it because we want to tag an act as bullying. As you all know, it requires a lot. There are some criteria to be considered before we call it bullying, and how to discipline them. Again, we don't just see the end result, but we have to trace what really happened. What is leading this child to do such action? Paano namin mahikayat na pumasok ang batang may mindsetting na kailangan niyang magtrabaho dahil sa pinipilit isama ng magulang sa paghahanap buhay? Oh, well, this is an issue of some economic concerns. May ganyan akong estudyante sa klase laging tulog when I ask because the child sa gabi nagtatrabaho. So I mean, we use our heart of compassion to understand. It's good that you set probably a confidence with the parents kasi hindi yun katanggap-tanggap. Ngunit hindi naman din tayo ang tanging magpapasya sa kinabukasan ng bata. Yung magulang pa din sa bandang huli ang may karapatan sa kanila. Maaari lamang tayong magbigay ng suggestions. Pwede lang natin sa kanilang ipakita yung mga pwedeng mangyari. But we cannot impose because we are teachers. We are just acting in loco parentis. But the right remains to be to that of their own parents. Okay? So the challenge is us. So I hope the next time you hear the song Nanay Tatay, it's an opportunity for us to integrate values. And it's not just a challenge, but a calling for us. Anyway, we are all good and we can share this goodness to all, wherever we are, whatever subject we are teaching. Maraming salamat po and God bless us all.
Okay po, there we have it. Thank you very much, Sir Joseph, for this. No more questions na po, sir. Ayan po.
Okay. I think this will be all for me.
Okay po, sir. Sige po,
Yes,
sir.
we have some more questions
this morning. Any other final reminders for our viewers po?
Okay. Yun lang po.
Okay po, sir. Before we end the session,
still, I think, send in some questions. We are waiting for our moderator.
Hello po, sir. Hello po.
Okay, straight for Miss Kia.
Hello po, Sir Joseph.
Um, okay, so again, as a final reminders, probably is yes, we focus on the subject, but focus doesn't mean we lose sight of the core values, which is character formation. Take note, we don't just call them students, they are persons with character, which we need to form, transform, and continue to mold. Anyway, we are all good.
Thank you very much, Sir Joseph Tambia, for this very insightful session this morning. Thank you din po to all our Kavibal viewers who stay tuned and are still patronizing all our Vibal webinars. Muli po, magkita-kita po tayo sa mga susunod nating webinars for this week until Saturday. And of course, to all our webinars next week and in our YouTube channel. Muli po, magandang araw sa ating lahat at maraming salamat.